We're going back to 1993 for Brian De Palma's Carlito's Way, starring Al Pacino. Free after years in prison, Carlito Brigante intends to give up his criminal ways, but it's not long before the ex-con is sucked back into the New York City underworld. This was part of the collection over on Criterion called The 90s Doing the 70s. I was like, I gotta jump on that as soon as it's still available. Brian De Palma, the director behind the, Scarface remake from 1983, also starring Al Pacino. He also made Blowout, Tom Cruise Mission Impossible. Kevin has it on 4K Blu-ray, but he also directed Carrie. I always forget that Brian De Palma directed Carrie.
Bro, I was just going through his filmography, and you just forget how many bangers this guy has made. It's
and
crazy.
Sort of, the darkness in like his posters as well. You can see that this is like a stark contrast in his worlds, and I think they are like quite approachable in these characters that are either on one side or the other of like the right and wrong side. I'm just looking at that, and that's sort of something that runs through his filmography and the sort of projects he attaches himself to. But Al Pacino, Sean Penn, soon to be maybe Oscar. A second-time Oscar winner, Sean Penn, but also John Leguizamo. I'm sorry, Louis Guzman also in this. Viggo Mortensen has a smaller part in it. First, we are in New York City, 1997. I gotta say, what the fuck is that haircut on Sean Penn? Like,
that's the first thing that I messaged to you while watching this movie, right?
What the? Yeah, I mean, I also wrote that down. That is like, he is just that haircut alone is like, oh yeah, you are a scumbag. I watched this, over a week ago. You caught up with it, so we could talk about it briefly here. What did you think about Carlito's Way?
Carlito's Way, it's just De Palma being De Palma, and I haven't watched that many movies of the guy. I've only watched 4 so far, them being obviously Mission Impossible, Carlito's Way, The Untouchables, and a movie called Hi Mom! Exclamation point.
What?
There's an exclamation point in it. It's a Hi Mom with Robert De Niro, and it is a wild, wild movie.
That poster is crazy.
If you want to watch it and talk about it next week, we can. Because
I have it on my watch list for a while, but I've seen Blowout, I've seen Carrie, and I've seen Scarface too. I've also seen Sisters. But yeah,
cool. You see more of him, but it's just
a competition.
No. I didn't mean it in that way. I apologize.
No, you're good.
But yeah, it's just De Palma, and also Al Pacino is incredible in this movie. And I was just gonna look like, has this movie, gotten any Oscar nominations? It probably has. Nope, nothing. Like, damn, that's crazy.
You think this would have deserved an Oscar nomination?
Yeah, for Al Pacino's performance alone, yeah. But I guess it's perhaps a bit too close to
his crime genre, woman, probably. Like something that
probably to Scarface as well, but
it's too action heavy or sort of thrillerish. I think that it's not. Maybe there's also the hangover of.
It made sense. He won. So this movie came out in '93, and he won the Oscar for Scent of a Woman in '93. So perhaps it's like, we already gave it to him. So
right? Yeah,
I don't know what came out that year as well. But this movie is old. We're gonna talk spoilers. So this movie obviously starts with Al Pacino getting stretched out, and I love Al Pacino narration. Maybe not so much anymore these days, but like back in the day when he had that voice, so good. So he's on that stretcher, and he's saying like, it's not my time yet. So there's still that sort of up in the air or of whether is he gonna actually die or not. And so apparently it's this trope of how we got here trope. It's something that's been bothering me a bit. That sort of trope, if I'm honest. For me, most in the more recent things, you obviously got Nobody 1 and 2 that always open with that interrogation in front of 2 cops that have no idea who he is, and then the story plays out. It was in Atomic Blonde. It was also in The Gentleman, if I recall correctly. And I was just wondering for you, if that's something that works in movies, because in Carlito's Way, it almost worked for me purely based on the length of the movie, because you almost forgot where it ends up, even with that thrilling grand central chase sequence where there's like one like 3-minute oneer as well. You know, I love oneers of him getting chased by the mob, obviously. So does that sort of story beat work for you?
I think it often it depends because this is also a novel adaptation. So there is a basis for it, and I think that framework is way more often used in books, where you start at the end and the whole thing is then laying out your whole story as this epic saga. And I think movies have really started to do that more and more. Here in the sort of sense of look at this character being doomed from the start, no matter what he tries to do to amend himself. And I think it sort of is like a bit of a shortcut reminder that we are actually not endorsing all of the bad things that are going to happen in the story. Maybe. I don't really get why it was done in this movie. I think it was kind of pointless because it is such a like crazy reveal of like he's almost made it and boom, no, you're shot, you're actually dying. And you don't get to live out your life. You don't actually get the happy ending. And the only thing I think they don't tell you who shot, like they don't show you who shot at the beginning, I think. Right?
No.
It's not, so that's sort of
that's where the famous sentence of "Hey, remember me? I'm Benny Blanco from the Bronx."
Yeah,
which, by the way, he's wonderful in that role. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very long. There's like it's almost like he's calling out to the audience, like, "Do you remember me from earlier in the movie?"
Yeah.
I don't know. It's also, you know, a lot of things that I think, I don't know if Pacino would still be cast in this because he's playing someone who's Puerto Rican. He's not Puerto Rican, so it's like there's a lot of like oddities here that were very much of its time in the 90s, where sort of stuff like that was still, I guess, a bit more normal. Yeah, acceptable. But I think it's just it's sort of a good time as well, and I think it's just like so much of it is the charisma of this lead character that sort of carries you through in this pretty horrendous world that is pretty scary. But he just like navigates it through with the sort of persona that is built. Like that's another trope of like the guy who everyone respects, right? It is somewhat similar to the trope of like the killer who returns, who easily mows through every sort of like action scene and has this sort of myth about himself. But then in the first scene where we are in that like a bar where there's like they're playing pool, and there is like violence that happens. It is very messy. It's not like he is very comfortable in this. He just has a way of surviving, and you sort of get an understanding that this character has not opened himself up to be depending on people, and that is why he was like safer maybe, or has been safe so far, like pushed away like his relationship thing. Like a lot of it I think is a shortcut of already having these things established before we get to see him for the first time, so he just gets to return to a world that like is sort of ready for him, or in the way that it's not ready for him. It's telling us a lot about him and how it's changed, and like I think that's all like great environmental storytelling that is like the show don't tell sort of thing for most of it. And then it just like sort of doesn't vibe with how it opens. But then, that's in the rear view, you move on, and I think a lot of it is quite enjoyable. The way that you way through the move through, you sort of see the things being laid out, like who's going to be the one, like who is betraying him, who's on his side, is there anyone on his side, like how does he get out of this, can he actually get out of this life, and sort of things that he still like, he needs a certain amount of money, and then he said like a lot of these things that are like something that he needs to reach, and at what cost. Like it's nothing groundbreaking, but it is just very well done, like crime thriller action, and I would say those two first genres more than the last. It just has that really stellar, like I think that like chase scene in the metro at the
Grand
station
Central
is it's up there. It's like a really, really great scene, just as a whole, like the whole tension. And
And it doesn't
great.
surprise me coming from De Palma, especially with his most famous movie, The Untouchables, where you got that staircase scene with the baby stroller. I mean, it's so famous for
The
a
Blowout
reason.
has
and-
a great scene too, about just the observation part. I think it's in the opening. It's been a while since I've seen
and
it, but it's also
I guess
great.
this movie, you did call it like it isn't groundbreaking. I guess this movie is playing a bit with subversive expectations, because this is still Al Pacino, who is coming off Scent of a Woman, sure, but also Scarface, where he played this very loud gangster. Now all of a sudden he plays this gangster who wants to be out of his life. So in terms of that, it is a bit subversive on his character and on his persona. And I liked it in that aspect a lot. It's also with him, you got Sean Penn, where he's the good guy, and you got Al Pacino who's coming out of prison, and like as the movie goes on, there's like this sort of crossing, and then you got Sean Penn at a certain point is worse than Al Pacino, and seeing that journey that Sean Penn is taking, which he's acting brilliantly. I mean, the guy has been doing it for a long time. Sure, some people might have discovered him only just now in One Battle After Another, but he has been doing it for so long, and it shows why he's been doing it for so long, because he's wonderful. In Carlito's way, he's such a scumbag, man.
Well, yeah,
such a scumbag.
when he like kills the guy, right, and it's clear that he, like, spoilers, right? He took the millions, and it took the million.
Yeah, it took the million.
It wasn't
one.
multiple millions, and
Just one.
Like he says, like, we're even, right? Such a great moment of, like, you feel like it feels like it's like the sort of not a scale imbalance. It feels like there's some mechanical thing that happens in this movie that's like boom, and then it's settled, and it's like it's so well done, the way that he like leaves him out to dry as well, to like not help him but also doesn't kill him. And then there's a shot of like the cockroach, and I was like, okay, that's a bit on the nose, but I like it. But yeah, overall pretty tense, thrilling movie.
A classic for a reason.
And something that I hadn't seen before. I think it was the first time you watched it as well.
Yeah.
And definitely worth checking out.
I gave it an 8 out of 10.
I did give it, what did I give it? I think I gave it an 8 out of 10 as well, or at least a 7 out of 10.
You gave it a 4 out of 5, so you gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. I liked it. I also did the ending of it with the credits of her just like on the beach, I think topless, dancing. Was
she topless?
It looked topless to me. I thought I saw a nipple.
I think she was wearing a dress.
I don't know.
But it's also this bittersweet ending, because she's on the beach. She did make it to there.
But it's like her
unborn child.
Like,
so, yeah,
it's like the sort of thing that they keep talking about. Life at the beach or something like that. It's nice.